Today, we're going to talk about one of the most useful personal topics in Spanish: family and simple personal details. The kind of Spanish you can use right away when you meet someone, talk about home, or say what you're going to do later. And we'll keep it nice and practical. Close family only, simple descriptions, ages, and a super useful little pattern for near future plans. Voy a plus infinitive, like voy a estudiar. I'm going to study. Let's jump in. In Spanish, some very useful family words are madre, mother, padre, father, hermano, brother, hermana, sister, abuelo, grandfather, abuela, grandmother, and parents as a group is padres. Grandparents is abuelos. Nice and tidy. A quick memory trick. Many family words look a little familiar. Hermano and hermana both start with the same base, so just think brother and sister are a matching pair. The ending changes. O often for masculine, a often for feminine. Not always in all Spanish words, but very often, and it helps a lot at this level. Now let's make these words useful immediately. In Spanish, to say my, you usually use mi. So mi madre, my mother. Mi padre, my father. Mi hermano, my brother. Mi hermana, my sister. Mi abuelo, my grandfather. Mi abuela, my grandmother. And here's a nice beginner-friendly thing about Spanish. Very often you do not need to say yo for I, because the verb already tells you. So instead of yo tengo dos hermanos, you'll often just hear tengo dos hermanos. That sounds natural. How do you say my mother is kind? Mi madre es amable. Mi madre es amable. Good. Amable means kind, and it works for both masculine and feminine, so that one is easy. No need to change it. How do you say, I have two brothers in Spanish? Tengo dos hermanos. Tengo dos hermanos. Exactly. Tengo means I have. You'll use tengo all the time in Spanish. Tengo una hermana. I have one sister. Tengo dos hermanos. I have two brothers. Now let's make a tiny but important note. If you have a mixed group, for example, a brother and a sister together, Spanish usually uses the masculine plural, hermanos. So hermanos can mean brothers or brothers and sisters together, depending on context. That's just something to get used to little by little. Let's keep building. To talk about age in Spanish, you do not say I am 20. Spanish uses have. So, tengo 20 años. Literally, I have 20 years. Same idea for everyone else. Mi hermana tiene 15 años. My sister is 15 years old. How do you say my grandfather is 70 years old in Spanish? Mi abuelo tiene 70 años. Mi abuelo tiene 70 años. Perfect. Notice that age uses tiene, has, not es, is. That's a very common learner mistake. English says is, Spanish says has. So not mi abuelo es 70 años. Instead, mi abuelo tiene 70 años. Let's add some simple descriptions, because this is where conversations start to feel real. You might say, mi padre es serio. My father is serious. Mi madre es simpática. My mother is nice or friendly. Mi hermano es alto. My brother is tall. Mi hermana es divertida. My sister is funny. Here's the light grammar note I promised. Adjectives often change a little depending on who you describe. Divertido for a male, divertida for a female. Alto, tall for a male. Alta for a female. So, mi hermano es alto, but mi hermana es alta. Think of the adjective as trying to match the person it describes, like wearing the same team jersey. How do you say, my sister is funny, in Spanish? Mi hermana es divertida. Mi hermana es divertida. Nice. And if you were talking about your brother, it would be mi hermano es divertido. Let's try a few more natural family sentences. My father is calm. Mi padre es tranquilo. My grandmother is very kind. Mi abuela es muy amable. I have one sister. Tengo una hermana. I have two brothers and one sister. Tengo dos hermanos y una hermana. How do you say my father is calm in Spanish? Mi padre es tranquilo. Mi padre es tranquilo. Great. And if it were your mother, it would become tranquila. Just a small ending change. Now let's connect family and personal life. Imagine you meet someone and want to say a few easy things about yourself. You can say, Tengo una hermana. Mi madre es amable. Mi padre tiene 48 años. Mi abuela es muy divertida. These are simple, warm, and useful. How do you say, I have one sister in Spanish? Tengo una hermana. Tengo una hermana. Excellent. Now for today's bonus superpower. Voy a plus infinitive. This is one of the easiest and most useful ways to talk about near future plans in Spanish. Voy a estudiar means I'm going to study. Voy a trabajar means I'm going to work. Voy a descansar means I'm going to rest. Think of it as a simple three-part train. Voy, then a, then the action. Voy a estudiar. Voy a trabajar. Voy a descansar. Once you know that pattern, you can say a lot with very little effort. How do you say, I am going to study tonight in Spanish? Voy a estudiar esta noche. Voy a estudiar esta noche. Perfect. Esta noche means tonight. Very useful. How do you say, I am going to work tomorrow in Spanish? Voy a trabajar mañana. Voy a trabajar mañana. Yes. And how do you say, I am going to rest now in Spanish? Voy a descansar ahora. Voy a descansar ahora. Nice work. One quick pronunciation tip. Voy a often sounds smooth and connected in real speech, almost like one little chunk. Voy a. But keep it clear in your mind as voy plus a plus verb. Now let's blend everything together so it feels like real speech, not separate pieces. Listen to this. Tengo dos hermanos. Mi madre es muy amable. Mi abuela tiene 68 años. Voy a estudiar esta noche. That is already real Spanish you can use. Here's another one. Tengo una hermana. Mi padre es tranquilo. Mi abuelo es serio, pero muy amable. Voy a trabajar mañana. Notice that pero means but. Tiny word, big usefulness. A quick note on descriptions. For personality or general description, you'll usually use es. Mi madre es amable. Mi hermano es divertido. At this level, that's the pattern you need most. Now I want to give you a short story in Spanish. Just listen first and see what you catch. Tengo una hermana y dos hermanos. Mi madre es amable y mi padre es tranquilo. Mi abuela tiene 65 años y mi abuelo tiene 70 años. Mi hermana es divertida y muy simpática. Esta noche voy a estudiar en casa. Después, voy a descansar con mi familia. Now let's go through it line by line. Tengo una hermana y dos hermanos. I have one sister and two brothers. Mi madre es amable y mi padre es tranquilo. My mother is kind and my father is calm. Mi abuela tiene 65 años y mi abuelo tiene 70 años. My grandmother is 65 years old and my grandfather is 70 years old. Mi hermana es divertida y muy simpática. My sister is funny and very nice. Esta noche voy a estudiar en casa. Tonight, I am going to study at home. Después, voy a descansar con mi familia. Afterward, I am going to rest with my family. Very nice. That little story uses exactly the kind of Spanish that makes you sound human right away. Family, personality, age, and plans. Let's talk about a few common mistakes so you can avoid them early. First, with age, remember Spanish uses have, not be. So say, tengo 20 años, not soy 20 años. And mi padre tiene 50 años, not mi padre es 50 años. Second, watch adjective endings when needed. Mi hermano es divertido, but mi hermana es divertida. Mi abuelo es alto, mi abuela es alta. If the word ends in O, the feminine often changes to A. Third, don't overuse subject pronouns in simple sentences. You can say, yo voy a estudiar, and sometimes you will hear it for emphasis, but most of the time just voy a estudiar sounds more natural. Same with tengo una hermana, not necessarily yo tengo una hermana every time. Fourth, keep voy a plus verb simple. After voy a, use the basic verb form, estudiar, trabajar, descansar. So voy a estudiar, not voy a estudio. Let's do a few more fast, natural ones together. How do you say, my grandmother is very kind in Spanish? Mi abuela es muy amable. Mi abuela es muy amable. How do you say my brother is tall in Spanish? Mi hermano es alto. Mi hermano es alto. How do you say I am going to rest in Spanish? Voy a descansar. Voy a descansar. And one more. How do you say my mother and father are calm in Spanish? Mi madre y mi padre son tranquilos. Mi madre y mi padre son tranquilos. Nice. There. Tranquilos is plural because it describes two people together. Just a small pattern to notice. So what did we cover today? You learned close family words like madre, padre, hermano, hermana, abuelo, and abuela. You used mi to make personal phrases like mi madre and mi abuelo. You talked about age with tengo and tiene plus años. You added simple descriptions like amable, tranquilo, and divertida. And you learned one of the most practical patterns in everyday Spanish, voy a plus infinitive, as in voy a estudiar, voy a trabajar, and voy a descansar. That is a lot of real Spanish for one lesson. And the best part is, it's the kind you can use today. You can already say who is in your family, what they're like, how old they are, and what you're going to do later. That's not small. That's real progress. So if you want, say a few lines out loud right now. Tengo una hermana. Mi madre es amable. Mi abuelo tiene 70 años. Voy a estudiar esta noche. Beautiful. Simple, clear, useful Spanish. Keep going, keep repeating, and don't worry about being perfect. If you can say it, you can improve it. Y sí, vas muy bien.